Welcome to Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM. We've got some pretty big developments to talk about. Carolina rookie running back Jonathan Brooks maybe not making his debut until week 3 or 4. Puka Nacua and 3 Rams offensive linemen are week to week. Puka Nacua with a knee injury. We've got an update on maybe the Chiefs passing downs guy. We heard from Andy Reid, so we'll talk about that. I am Adam Azer. I'm with Dave Richard and Jamey Eisenberg today. Dave, which Thursday night preseason game are you looking forward to more? The Panthers-Patriots or the Lions-Giants? Or, door number 3, you could be a company man and you could watch Big Brother and Young Sheldon on CBS.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch Big Brother and Young Sheldon and DVR the games and go through them with a fine-tooth comb. If I had to pick a game, I think it would be Panthers-Patriots because Lions and Giants are scrimmaging this week, so they're probably going to play nothing but third stringers in the preseason game.
That could be true. Okay, well, maybe we'll get to see a little Drake May on Thursday night. This is preseason week 1 week, so we're excited for that. 2 games on Thursday, 3 on Friday, and then the rest over the weekend. Jamey's here as well. Jamey, don't get mad at me. I fell asleep during House of the Dragon last night.
I mean, I'm not surprised by you. You know what it was? It was a very good episode. It was not the best end of season episode. Right. It felt as, I'm not saying anything, but it just felt like, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, it felt like it was like episode 8 of a 10 episode season as opposed to an 8 episode season.
That's a little frustrating. All right, risers and fallers today. Let's get one big riser, one big faller. Just tease a few other things coming up. We'll talk about DeAndre Hopkins. We have an update on him. What ESPN's reporter, Bengals reporter Ben Baby said about the Bengals backfield. What Chris Godwin said about his knee. And an update on the Chargers wide receivers and more. But Dave, why don't you start? Give me a riser for you.
The receiver that's gone up the most, literally the most spots since training camp opened is Rashee Rice. And it's because I don't know if a suspension's coming. And reports have been positive about all the receivers in Kansas City. I don't think that should be a surprise to anybody. But he's the one that already had some chemistry developed with Patrick Mahomes. Should be maybe a slight favorite to lead all wide receivers in targets in Kansas City. And if he plays 17 games, we know he's going to have a shot at scoring a bunch of touchdowns. I don't know how many big games, like 9 for 120 yards he's going to have, but I think he'll be solid. And I think he's a good wide receiver 3. He's my number 30 wide receiver as we speak today.
Rashee Rice up to 30 for Dave. And Jamey, where do you have Rashee Rice?
29.
All right. So he's a top 30 guy for you two. Last 6 games of the season, Rashee Rice was a top 6 wide receiver overall in half and full PPR. He was 12th per game in half PPR. He was 8th per game in full PPR, on pace for 159 targets, 122 catches, 1,468 yards, 8 touchdowns. My question is, could you see him moving into the top 24? Or is this, you think, kind of capping it for him around wide receiver 30 for Rashee Rice?
I mean, you had the situation last year where it was a bunch of stiffs around him, and now you got, some pretty legitimate competition for targets, so I think you got to be a little bit cautious with it. There's still a chance of a suspension that we don't know could arise, whether the NFL decides not to wait for the legal process or not. So, for me, he probably won't go much higher, maybe 23, 24 at the best, but for the most part, he's going to live in that 24 to 30 range.
I've got DJ Moore at 22, Michael Pittman at 23, Amari Cooper at 24. I don't think I see Rice leapfrogging those guys. I think that they're set in positions where they can be number 1 receivers for their respective teams, average 8 targets per game, and not have to worry about 2 other faster receivers taking some work away from them.
All right, Jamey, who's a big riser for you?
I didn't have anybody like significantly jump. But Ty Chandler moved up for me aside from the injury situations with Jonathan Brooks, for example, but non-injury related, Ty Chandler. It feels as if we're going to see a 50-50 split or close to that in the Vikings backfield with Aaron Jones leading the way. But I'm a little scared of Aaron Jones to begin with, just because at his age, injuries last year. So Chandler moved up about 7 spots in my rankings from running back 49 to 42. He may creep up a couple more spots as well as continue to tweak it, but I'm just going to let somebody else draft Aaron Jones. I'm going to target Ty Chandler.
You think 50-50?
I'd be surprised, but that's what you're hearing, from some people that have covered the team or been around the team. And so for me, it's not a shock if it's going to be close.
Yeah. Hey, quick note, everybody, by the way, just on a technical side here. Jamie is stuck in the Northeast because of the hurricane in Florida. I know it's up in the Panhandle. So I know he doesn't sound like he usually does. I just want to give a heads up there. We appreciate what he's doing, making sure he's got time. He's carved out time for a whole bunch of shows. So thank you to Jamie for doing that. He's supposed to be in Florida right now, but plans have changed. So if it sounds a little bit different, just want to let you know the reason why. Also, we recorded running back preview part 1 last night. It's available on YouTube if you want, or you could just wait until Tuesday. Just wait for it to come out, the audio version of it. But running back preview part 1, we recorded on Sunday to air on Tuesday. Part 2, we're recording tonight to air on Wednesday. And then we'll have wide receivers part 1 and 2 on Thursday and Friday. We're doing that, on Thursday and Friday. All right, Ty Chandler, a riser. Rashee Rice, a riser. Let's get some fallers here. Jamie, who's a rankings faller for you?
Again, without the injury-related stuff.
You can talk about Jonathan Brooks. I mean, let's go for it.
Yeah, I mean, Brooks dropped 11 spots for me from RB21 to RB32. It's frustrating, because I'm still excited for him this season, but we're already in the early part of August, and now you're hearing week 3. They sound like they have a smart plan for it, which is great. But what if it's not week 3? What if it's week 4? What is week 5? What is week 6? So as we get closer to the season, maybe I'll continue to move him up a little bit. And obviously the flip side of that is Chuba Hubbard moved up, significantly as well. He's now up to, running back 39. But are they going to give Brooks the majority of the carries early in the season? Clearly it could be a Breece Hall situation. That was kind of my hope all along, that, younger running back get an opportunity to come back from a knee injury he suffered in November. But rookie, new offense, missing time. It may take some time before we get the best of Jonathan Brooks. So I'm still going to target him. I'm still going to draft him, but I just can't pay the cost I was paying before.
Okay, quick Hubbard question. Would you rather have Hubbard or Ty Chandler?
Depends on my build. If I have an opportunity that I need somebody right away, I'm going to obviously take Hubbard. So 0 RB approach, 0 RB approach. Chuba Hubbard's more of a target. If I'm looking more long-term and I want to have somebody that I think could help me middle to the end of the season, I'll probably take Chandler.
And both of you can answer now. Would you rather have Jonathan Brooks or a Steelers running back?
Both
I have Najee ahead of Brooks as of now.
Jonathan Brooks or a Bengals running back?
It was interesting because prior to this weekend, both Steelers running backs for the most part were going ahead of Brooks anyway.
I currently have Brooks over both Bengals running backs.
I have it Brown, Brooks, Moss.
And Titans running backs?
Both Titans over Brooks.
I have both Titans under Brooks.
We have some interesting observations from the chat. True or false on this one? Jamie looks like he's going golfing later.
I didn't bring appropriate clothing for a lot of the shows that I have to do today. So this is what I'm wearing. And if anybody saw me at the Flex Draft, I wore this on Saturday too.
Adam, the type of dude to take
God for laundry.
Adam, the type of dude to take 20 mints from the mint bowl after eating at a restaurant. Oh, come on. I wouldn't do something like that. But he did also say I'm the type of dude to eat Eggs Benedict without the Hollandaise sauce. That is 100% accurate. Hollandaise sauce ruins Eggs Benedict. Dave, who's a rankings faller for you?
Let's talk about DJ Moore. I mentioned him being at 22 in my rankings at receiver. He was a top 15 receiver for me kind of when training camp started. And it's not necessarily because of anything that DJ Moore did during the training camp. It's more about like a conversation that we had a week ago on Fantasy Football Today on CBS Sports Network when we were talking about Malik Nabers, and Nabers was in a situation, or is in a situation, should be the top target getter in New York, doesn't have a great quarterback. Well, what did that do for DJ Moore last year? He had a monster season, tons of targets. And then I did some studying on that. So that got me thinking, well, maybe DJ Moore obviously isn't in the same situation. How much worse can it get? Can he average 8 targets per game? I don't think he can. I think that there's just too many other mouths to feed in that offense. And that just dropped the ceiling for him. And I've been saying it all offseason long. Don't draft players at their ceiling. You've got to really love somebody to take them at their ceiling. I would rather draft DJ Moore. He's one of those players I like, don't love, would rather draft him closer to his floor. For me, that's turned into like that round 4 or 5 range. And so now I'm not going to be the one getting DJ Moore in all of our drafts. He's falling to a spot now where everybody can have a shot at him. And I think it's the right move. I think he can average over 7 targets per game, but I don't know if he can go out and have another year like he did last year. So as an example, I look at I look at Mike Evans as a line of demarcation. Okay, he's 15 PPR points per game. That's just what he always is. Last year was more than that, obviously. DJ Moore has fallen behind that. I think DJ Moore is in that 13.5, 14 PPR point per game range. He's a faller.
Both 49ers guys over him. That's easy, right?
Easy.
How about Pittman or DJ Moore?
I have Moore over Pittman because I'm even as bearish as I've become on DJ Moore. I'm even more bearish on Pittman.
Malik Neighbors?
Over both.
Malik Neighbors over DJ Moore.
Malik Neighbors. Well, it's what the whole conversation kind of did to me.
Okay.
It's by one. They're back-to-back, 21-22.
Okay. And how about George Pickens or DJ
Pickens is ahead of Neighbors and Moore.
Okay. All right. I want to talk about a bonus riser, which we'll do in a little bit. I got to promote a few things here. Draft-a-thon. Okay, we've got a draft tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Need your help here. We got 5 or 6 spots left in the draft. It's me and a bunch of listeners. So please come on in, and we're going to do a live stream at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we want to see how you all are drafting. It's going to be a full PPR draft, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. And I don't know who's on tomorrow. One of you guys on tomorrow night?
Most likely not.
Not Jamie anymore. But it's gonna be.
If you need me, I think I can be there. I'll let you know.
Scheduled to be on, but anyway, it's going to be me and an analyst. We're going to talk about your draft and the draft. And if you pay $50, you're in. If you pay $150, you're in the draft, and you are on the live stream. You'll be on the live stream for about 10 minutes, and there'll be an article about it on the website, and your team will have a little write up as well. So all of this goes to St. Jude. Go to tinyurl.com/draftathon 2024. That's one of the things you can purchase there, and there'll be a lot more coming out, including spots in the podcast league, including the FFT Open, which we're hoping to launch later this week. FFT Open is amazing. That's 12 leagues of 12 teams all competing eventually to declare one winner out of 144 people to be the winner of the FFT Open. I think those are going to be up for bid or up for purchase on Thursday, hopefully. Tell you more about that later in the week. Also, have you signed up for BetMGM yet? If you haven't done it, use the bonus code FANTASY, and you're going to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. So here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FANTASY. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code FANTASY on BetMGM when you sign up. We'll be right back with a bonus riser and big news after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. So, yeah, I think a guy that you guys were talking about, I think on the show we did last night that's publishing tomorrow, wasn't a running back. It's Cooper Kupp. Is he a riser? He's having a great camp. Now you got Puka Nacua with an injury week to week. Not a serious knee injury here. But, Jamie, how far, if at all, has Cooper Kupp risen for you?
So prior to the news this morning, I did move him up about 3 or 4 spots. He's around wide receiver 15. It's going to be hard not to move him up another spot or 2 as well. You know, the positive news is that Puka is not expected to miss any game time, and it seems like it's a minor injury. But any injury is obviously going to sort of start to shift the pendulum a little bit, maybe in favor of Kupp over Nacua. I'm not there yet, but you have to drop Puka a few spots. You have to raise Kupp a few spots, and again, you're looking at somebody who, if he's healthy, in Cooper Kupp, could be a significant difference maker. The problem is, for the last couple of years, he's battled these nagging injuries, and how healthy will he be at 31 years old? So don't overreact to it too much. But I can't sit here and say I'm nervous about Devontae Adams and Mike Evans at their age, and not be the same about Puka, but also having them all ranked in a similar range as well. So that's kind of what I did. I moved them all back to back to back.
I think it's smart to start that conversation with, who are you more comfortable with, Cooper Kupp or Devontae Adams? And I think I know your answer. I would guess that your answer would be Kupp, because he's got a better quarterback, right?
It's Adams, just because Puka's there.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised.
If Puka's out, like if this was awful news and we got Puka Nacua is missing half the season or more, then it would be Kupp. But you're still looking at 150 to 180 targets for Devontae Adams.
Right. So that's the edge that Devontae Adams will have. On top of that, I think Adams will probably have a higher ADOT and all that jazz. They'll both be used a ton in the red zone. but I think there's a case to be made that if you look at Devontae Adams and you go, you know what, he was terrible last year, or he wasn't what we thought he'd be. He wasn't worth a top 20 pick last year, and he could take another step forward or step backward this year. Kupp is the pick, and Kupp is who you would take ahead of Devontae Adams. I'm not there yet. I still have Adams over Kupp, but I think they're very close in range and close in terms of profile. Older wide receiver, we know what they're capable of. We know their upside is north of 20 PPR fantasy points. It's just a matter of what's the path for them to get there. And the very first part of the path for Kupp is playing 17 games. And that's something that I'm still nervous about. I know he's healthy now, but I'm still a little nervous about saying, oh yeah, don't worry about Cooper Kupp. He's going to be just fine.
Let me give you a hypothetical start to your team. You take Jahmyr Gibbs in round 1 and Saquon Barkley in round 2 and Cooper Kupp in round 3. You got the 11th pick overall.
I'll give you a real life scenario because it just happened in the flex draft that I was in, where it was Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor at 12, and then Cooper Kupp and Michael Pittman in rounds 3 and 4. That was to our buddy Alfredo Brown.
Nice.
What do you think?
So I don't love the Pittman pick myself, but you're getting into, I believe it was like wide receiver 18 or 19 in that range. The next receiver that went, which is what I would have done if this was the options available, would have been Kupp and Malik Neighbors. So I don't know if you feel better about that, worse about that. That's just what I would have done. But that was the next receiver off the board. So could have gone Gibbs, Taylor, Kupp, Neighbors, and I have no problem with that at all.
You have the draft open?
I do.
All right. So he goes Taylor and Gibbs.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Barkley and Gibbs. Excuse me. Barkley.
Okay. Barkley and Gibbs at 12, 13. And then Kupp and Pittman at the 3-4 turn, 36, 37.
Yep.
And Neighbors was still there.
Okay. Now,
Yep.
Now do this.
I would have taken Neighbors.
Now take Gibbs and a wide receiver and take Kupp and a running back and tell me what that team would have looked like.
So he passed on Garrett Wilson. So it went Nakua at 11, Barkley and Gibbs, 12 and 13, and took Wilson. I'm sorry, Wilson was next year. So he could have gone Barkley and Wilson or Gibbs and Wilson because he took Barkley first. And then he could have gone Kupp and James Cook. So Barkley.
Oh, yeah. Give me that.
Yep.
Yeah. That's interesting that even in the flex draft, James Cook went 36, 37.
Well, again, that's half PPR as well. So keep that in mind. But it was a heavy run on receivers.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I would have loved that start. And it's realistic based on where Cook goes. It's a little late for Cook based on ADP. It's weird to talk about this now because you're going to hear us talk about it so much on tomorrow's show, which we recorded yesterday, but we did talk about James Cook's ADP. All right. So those are some risers for you. Some risers were Rashee Rice, Ty Chandler, Cooper Kupp, fallers. Obviously, Chuba Hubbard, a riser. Jonathan Brooks. DJ Moore is a faller for Dave, probably getting kind of close to where Jamie has DJ Moore. Let's take a look there. Yeah, everyone. Jamie's got him 25th, Dave 22nd, and Heath 23rd in full PPR. I have an email of the day. I'm going to save it for later. It's about tight ends, so we'll put that to later, Tom. Hopefully we can get to it. Here's the big news that you may have missed from over the weekend. So Jonathan Brooks, he's not going to play in the preseason. Rookie running back for the Panthers, first running back selected, coming off a torn ACL. He could start the season on PUP, but they're hoping for the week 3 or 4 for Jonathan Brooks. So here's a follow-up. We already talked about where he is in the rankings. Here's a follow-up, though. How confident are you that Miles Sanders isn't going to either be the lead running back or be in a very close split with Chuba Hubbard, which would obviously be terrible? Dave.
Well, I'm trying to keep tabs on everything that's going on at every training camp. I don't think I've read anything about Miles Sanders so far. And maybe there's something I missed, and Sanders might have strung together a couple of great days, but I can't imagine that he's about to re-break out after, how terrible he was last year. I think Chuba's still got the lead on that job. And I think he'll be the number 3 guy once Brooks is really in the swing of things. Hopefully that's by week 6 or so. And then, Brooks could take off from there. Chubb will back up Brooks, and Miles Sanders might be a Dallas Cowboy at some point. Who knows?
So this is from July 30th from the Charlotte Observer, that Sanders and Hubbard were both taking first-team reps. Okay. So they're giving him an opportunity. But according to, this is from Mike Kay of the Charlotte Observer, Hubbard is, quote, the leader in the clubhouse. But he also said it's legitimate competition for the role. And then when Brooks comes back, who knows what will happen. So, it's not crazy to think that Miles Sanders is out of the mix. It's not crazy to think that you should be taking a shot on him with your last pick in a 15, 16 round type of league, because who knows? Like, I'll give you an example, for me, in this flex draft, my last pick was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Is there much difference at this point between those two type of players? I lean toward the CEH because the team that he plays on in his role, he feels like he's locked into the second guy. But if Deneric Prince is going to be in the mix for the, shared situation, look, Miles Sanders may have a very prominent role early in the year if something happens to Hubbard and Brooks isn't there.
I feel like you could name 25 other players that you'd rather have than both CEH and Miles Sanders.
Absolutely. I can name 200, but it's
so
it's one of those
can
things.
Yeah. Okay.
Our ADP.
Jefferson, Chase, Bijan.
Miles Sanders is currently 214th in our ADP.
Yeah, I get it.
Right, but again, Dave, if we get news this week that something happens to Hubbard and that Brooks is out for 3 weeks,
of course.
He's jumping in that 50 to 80 spots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
All right, guys, next news item here. So Puka Nacua is week to week, but the report this morning, it's not believed to be serious, his knee injury. They're calling everyone week to week on the Rams. They have 3 starting offensive linemen that are out right now.
That's not good.
And Jonah Jackson, it looks like, is the most long-term. He comes over from the Lions. He was a big off-season acquisition to play left guard. So they're hoping he's back for week 1. But the other 2 are their tackles. And they're both week to week with ankle injuries. The Titans, good news on DeAndre Hopkins. He's not going to need surgery, and he's expected to return in about 4 weeks. So we can be, I'd say, optimistic that he's ready for week 1. Andy Reid, I brought this up on yesterday's, which is airing tomorrow, so it's going to be repetitive, sorry. But Andy Reid said Isaiah Pacheco is ready to be the third down back. He didn't say that he would be the third down back, but he was asked about it, and he said Pacheco can do all those things. But he said so can Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and so can other guys on the team. And if you want to hear our analysis of it, you'll hear it on the running back preview. Here's what ESPN's Ben Baby wrote about the Bengals backfield. The Bengals have a few camp battles ongoing, but the most important to watch would be between Chase Brown and Zach Moss. Brown and Moss are vying to get the bulk of Joe Mixon's vacated workload. Brown has looked explosive at times in practice, while Moss gives the Bengals true 4-down ability, something Mixon lacked in 7 seasons with the Bengals. Okay. They're close in the rankings, right? I mean, you might have, but they're very close.
Yep. And I'd love to get both of them. And then just know, you don't have to spend a top 6-round pick on either of them. And if you hammer them back to back in 7 and 8, you figure you've got an RB2 between the 2 of them each week. Hopefully it's not a headache that you're creating.
Is that really the best use of 2 picks? Because I wondered about.
Sure. You could also go and get 1 Titan and 1 Bengal or something like that. But you want to try and this is something that I like to do. I like to just try and just be right on it and know that if I pick 1 Titan and 1 Bengal, there's a 25% chance that I've got 2 duds, right? But if I've got both Bengals with those picks, 50% chance that I'm going to be right theoretically, and 50% chance that, well, I don't even know if it's 100% chance that I'll have the Bengals running back. Again, not great with math, Adam. But yeah. I think that the whole point is trying to lock up a backfield at a cheaper price is not the worst idea in the world.
So let me ask you this, because you did this in our pick by pick. You started with Taylor and Gibbs, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, and then I didn't lock up the Bengals backfield. You're right. That's where you're going.
You took Brown and Spears. You didn't take
I did. Right. And that was a different idea.
But my question is, knowing that you have 2 running backs that are your starters, would you rather have the security of the Bengals or the Titans, whichever one you pick, if you could have gotten both? Or would you rather have the chance to get 2 studs in that scenario? Because
I'm fishing for breakouts. Because I can afford to fish for breakouts with those picks because I've already got 2 running backs that I know I'm starting every week.
Right. But you also don't have in your other, the flip side of it, you don't have maybe a flex. If those 2 players,
I do, because I drafted 4 receivers in a row.
Forget about that. I'm just talking about the running backs. Like if you were looking for just a flex option, is it safer to take the entire backfield, knowing that you don't have to worry about the headache of if both guys flop?
If it were like a 14-team league, I might have taken the backfield, but I also don't think I would have had a chance to get both members of the backfield then.
Yeah. What scares me is the Pittsburgh backfield from last year.
Right. Those guys both averaged 11 points per game.
Fine. They were both fine. And here's the thing, like if you take Chase Brown and Tajay Spears, instead of Chase Brown and Zach Moss. And then Zach Moss gets hurt. No, sorry, that Chase Brown gets hurt. Sorry. You're going to be pretty pissed that you didn't take Zach Moss, right?
Right. Okay. And so if I had started my draft, remember how I was complaining that I wanted one of the receivers with one of the running backs and I couldn't because Puka went right in front of me. Garrett Wilson went right in front of me. Let's say I had taken Garrett Wilson there and then I took a tight end where I took Rashee Rice. Okay. So now I'm playing hero RB. At that point in the draft, 7-8 turn, definitely taking 2 from the same team to lock up the RB2 spot.
Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of feel like there's no right answer, right? Because if someone's going to get hurt, that's going to change the fortunes in any backfield, right? You don't know who's going to get hurt. But if we play it out like the Bengals and the Titans and the Steelers, all these guys, that they all stay healthy, I'm just not sure that I want to take 2 guys from the same backfield. I think that really limits your upside. And also, I can't really think of a lot of scenarios where we've had like 2 good running backs, 2 must-start running backs. You had Montgomery and Gibbs last year. That's
right, but you weren't taking those guys at the 7-8 turn.
No, of course, right? That's a lot higher. Right. I go back to Kamara and Ingram, but if you have 2 start-worthy players from the same backfield, I think a lot of times you don't have a real difference maker there.
Maybe not a difference maker.
You're talking about 2 flex options or maybe 2 borderline, RB2 options, and you're just most likely choosing the wrong one each week. The thing that you're hoping for is, like you said, Adam, you're hoping for one of those guys to, miss time, and then the other one is a superstar. But, you'd rather, I think, the best way to win is the way that Dave did it, which is to guess on the 2 that you like the best. In the case of that draft, he took Brown and Spears, and that those are the best running backs, regardless of injury. But if injury occurs, then you're talking again about, 2 top 15 caliber players.
And if you're trying to just fill a spot on your roster, if it's round 7 or round 8, you're not looking for a difference maker. Then you could fall into one. But if you've got 2 guys from the same team, in the case of Cincinnati, I like it better than the case of Pittsburgh or Tennessee, because I think that's one where one guy could emerge. We've seen it from the Bengals before, and that's a really good offense in Cincinnati.
Fair. Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. If you take both Bengals and one of them is a total bust, that probably means the other one is great.
Exactly.
And then it's worth it. Then you spend a 7th and an 8th round pick on only one player, but that one player is a must-start guy. It's worth it.
Yeah.
So it's a great point, and I look forward to continuing this conversation this evening when we do RB preview part 2. Chris Godwin said he's finally healthy. He said he wasn't back to being himself. He tore his ACL in 2021. Obviously, 2022 was a struggle, but even last year was a struggle physically for Chris Godwin. So he's happy to be back on the inside, and he says he's fully healthy now. And Chris Rim of ESPN said this about the Chargers wide receivers. Josh Palmer appears in position to be the number 1 target, but after that, it appears to be an open competition between Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, and DJ Chark. Jamie, what are your thoughts on that? Josh Palmer, do you think it's realistic that you'll start ranking Palmer ahead of McConkey?
No, but they'll be closer together, with most likely Palmer staying where he is and McConkey continuing to fall, especially with the Herbert news being what it is, that, dealing with plantar fascia, and who knows how long that could linger or potentially become a problem during the year. So I really, I was excited about Palmer. You and I fought for him in a lot of drafts because I know you were very high on Palmer a lot as well. You won most of those fights. First time you'll ever say that.
Great.
The downside for McConkey is that he was being overdrafted at this point, and so rookie only drafts, don't change your approach, back into the first round type of guy. Redraft, however, it's hard to justify drafting him as a potential starter in a 3-receiver league. So he's another faller for me, mostly because of the Herbert news. I hadn't seen this report from Chris Rim.
Okay, so let's get some more risers and fallers here, and let's talk about. So some of these we said last week, so I'll try to skip over those. But Jalen Hurts, these are Dave's risers. Jalen Hurts went from QB2 to QB1. We talked about that last week. But Anthony Richardson up from QB7 to QB6. Now that's a 6-point per passing touchdown league. I'm assuming, would he be even higher in a 4?
He would be even high. He would jump ahead of CJ Stroud. He'd be QB5.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's QB6. Would you put him ahead of Burrow?
I put him ahead of Burrow. If they're both injury prone, you might as well take the injury prone quarterback that runs.
Okay. And Jamison Williams up to wide receiver 42. I think we talked about that. Rashee Rice up 10 spots from wide receiver 40 to wide receiver 30. Chase Brown. We've covered a lot of this, but we haven't covered Dobbins or Dowdle. We'll get to that. Chase Brown up from running back 43 to running back 33. Boy, I really hope that those guys play in the preseason. I really hope we see something from the Bengals backfield. Okay, how about J.K. Dobbins? You moved him up 7 spots from running back 46 to running back 39.
Just encouraged by what we're hearing out of LA and just knowing that they're going to run the ball a lot. Now, I'm not going to push him up back to where he once was in fantasy's good graces. But if he's going to be sharing and has a chance to do some work on 12, 13 touches a week, especially if Justin Herbert is a little slow to start the year, I don't mind firing a shot at J.K. Dobbins late.
How does he compare to Gus Edwards for you?
I still have Gus higher. I think Gus will score more touchdowns if the two stay healthy.
Pat Fry. Oh, there's one other. Oh, Rico Dowdle. Yeah, we got to talk about this. So you moved him up 14 spots from running back 54 to running back 40. How come you moved Rico Dowdle for the Cowboys up?
Because, and we talked about this on the show that will be heard 3 weeks from Thursday or whatever the hell you've got planned out. But Jamie summed it up succinctly. Stephen Jones crapped all over Rico Dowdle, and the next thing you know, Rico Dowdle turns into the best running back at Cowboys practice. Is he going to play so well that he makes Dallas think twice about adding another running back, which is what we thought they were going to do all offseason long? They didn't do it in the draft. They didn't do it in free agency. Could they do it right before the season starts? Maybe they don't have to. Maybe Rico Dowdle is their guy. And for now, I'm willing to take the chance on drafting Rico Dowdle probably in that like round 9-10 type range. I don't want to go any higher than that. I don't want to get too excited because what if the Cowboys do add another running back and then Rico Dowdle's sharing and it's just not what you want out of a round 9 type pick.
Would you guys take Rico Dowdle or Gus Edwards?
Gus.
I'm riding the Gus bus.
Okay. Would you take Rico Dowdle or Blake Corum?
Dowdle.
Suave.
Okay. And Pat Fryermuth up from tight end 16 to tight end 12 for Dave.
Yep. Streaming tight end to begin the year. Looks like he could be the number 2 target getter in Pittsburgh. We know the track record of tight ends under Arthur Smith. I was kind of waiting to see if someone else would step up and be a better option as the number 2 guy after George Pickens in that offense. No one really has. I know, Van Jefferson's got buzz. Roman Wilson had buzz, and then he hurt his ankle. Calvin Austin, whatever. I think it could end up being Fryermuth. And so when it comes to taking a tight end late, say I whiff on the first 10 tight ends, Fryermuth is the one I'm targeting.
I think Arthur Smith, his offenses have been top 8 in tight end target rate every season that he's been the coordinator.
Sure. And it hasn't always been one guy. There have been times where it has. There's been times where it's been 2-3 guys. But if there are multiple guys, I don't think is Mike Cole Pruitt on the Steelers? Did he follow Arthur Smith to Pittsburgh? I don't think Washington, their gigantic tight end, is going to be that guy. I think it's going to be Fryermuth.
Okay. All right. So some risers. The risers for Dave: Hurts up to QB1, Richardson up to QB6 in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues, going ahead of Joe Burrow. Jamison Williams up 7 spots to wide receiver 42. Rashee Rice up 10 spots to wide receiver 30. Chase Brown up 10 spots to running back 33. J.K. Dobbins up 7 spots to running back 7. Up 7 spots to running back 39. He is not running back 7, J.K. Dobbins.
That's my running back 7.
Yeah, last year. Right? Rico Dowdle, running back 54 up to running back 40, and Pat Fryermuth up to tight end 12. Jamie's got a QB riser that I'm going to link to one of Dave's QB risers, and we'll do that after this break on Fantasy Football Today. All right, here's a list of Jamie's rankings risers right now. Jaden Daniels, he goes from QB 11 to QB 9. And let's just think about this. You've got one quarterback, Anthony Richardson. You got another quarterback, Jaden Daniels. They might be 5 rounds apart, if not more, in drafts. Jaden Daniels won the Heisman, a better prospect than Anthony Richardson was. I know they were both top 4 picks, but I feel comfortable saying that.
Much better thrower. Much
better numbers in college. Mm-hmm. Better rushing numbers. Now, I don't know about per game because he played more games. But just if Anthony Richardson, if they both came out this year, no one would be taking Richardson ahead of Jaden Daniels. Then you could say, okay, well, Richardson did it last year. He was so good. Yeah, but on the other hand, he kept getting hurt. So I just what do you think of that argument, Jamie? Why take Anthony Richardson if you could just wait like 5 rounds to get Jaden Daniels?
That's absolutely the right approach. If you want to wait on quarterbacks, why we talk about, don't reach for the higher end guys and take the guys that you think are going to be the next wave of breakout candidates or potential breakout candidates. And so, the 3 guys that I tend to target in most of my drafts, Richardson's been a top 5 quarterback for me for weeks. Kyler's a guy that continues to rise. He's just ahead of Daniels at number 7. And Daniels was always the next target for me. So I had him ranked behind Dak and behind Love. And I just decided, why am I even toying with that? Like, let me just do it, because if Daniels hits, he's going to be better than Dak and better than Love and maybe a top 5 guy himself, because he's got that 800 plus rushing yard potential. And if he hits that, that puts him in the top 10 almost automatically, unless he's a total flop as a passer. And as you alluded to, he's not coming into the NFL as unpolished as Anthony Richardson was. I wonder what Richardson would have done in that LSU offense himself had he had those weapons and that type of ability to play like that. So look, is it smarter to just take the shot on Daniels? Yes. Does Richardson at least give you the opportunity to say he's done it for a couple of games and you saw what he's capable of? So take that upside first. That's the approach, I think, if you're looking at it from Richardson's perspective. But I have no problem if you say, okay, Richardson's too expensive, I'm just going to wait and take Daniels, and you should hopefully get similar production if they both stay healthy.
Cool. All right, so Will Levis is another riser for you. Jaden Daniels up from QB 11 to QB 9. Will Levis, not quite in that territory, but he is up from QB 22 to QB 19 for Jamie. So I don't know if you remember who you moved him ahead of. You can let us know that. But also, are you guys getting a little tired of the videos on Twitter where it's like the highlights, not just on Twitter, but you got like the slow, they put it in super slow-mo and then the guy catches it and they speed it up. I just like, I'm kind of over that style. Just gonna throw that out there.
You rather just see it in full speed?
I think I would. Yeah, I'd rather just see it in full speed. Just give me. I don't need the dramatic slow-mo. I think I've seen a highlight before.
I thought you were going in a different direction. I thought you were going to say, aren't you tired of seeing highlights of a guy beating somebody in a one-on-one drill or 7-on-7 and there's no pads? And
yes,
like those mean nothing. They really don't mean very much. It's full pads, team drills with all the joint practices that are coming up. That'll mean something. A guy stands out in a couple of joint practices. That's cool. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Not when you're in shorts and a helmet and you beat a guy. Like there was a big deal made in Dolphins camp last week because after Tyreek Hill got Jalen Ramsey once or twice, Ramsey came back and stopped Tyreek Hill. But I mean, it doesn't mean anything. It shouldn't be taken as like, oh wow, someone's going to be good or someone's going to be bad.
Well, Will Levis is making a lot of those highlight plays. So you moved him up to QB 19, Jamie.
Yeah, I moved him ahead of the injured trio of Cousins, Rodgers, and Watson. And so I'm just excited about him for this year. He was somebody that I liked coming into the process because I thought the addition of Brian Callahan and the weapons that they brought in. Look, DeAndre Hopkins being banged up is not ideal, but Ridley coming, Tyler Boyd coming, Tony Pollard coming, and the offensive line upgrades. And so last year he struggled, but you saw the flashes, and he's going to be, I think, a little bit more mobile than people expect. So is he going to get to that 400-yard rushing mark? That'd be a stretch, but wouldn't be shocking. But 300 plus yards, I think, is within the realm of possibility. And I just like what I'm seeing. And I like what I'm hearing. And so I'd rather take a chance on, younger upside type of player as opposed to the older guys coming off of, 2 Achilles tears and a shoulder injury. So wouldn't be surprised if those guys are better than Levis. But for me, I'd rather lean toward the player I think is trending in a better direction.
Super easy guy to take with your last pick or second to last pick in a 1 QB league. And after 2 weeks, you don't like what you're getting out of him. You cut him. You've got another quarterback anyway. He shouldn't be your only QB. And if you're in a 2 QB league, I think he should rise up even more because I think he's got a really good shot at keeping the job for a while. He would have to really, trip over his shoelaces to have Mason Rudolph come in and replace him within the first 8 weeks of the season.
Jamie's got 4 running back risers. Chase Brown up to running back 28. Dave's got him at 33. Javonte Williams up from running back 36. Javonte is now running back 31. Chuba Hubbard up 10 spots to running back 39, and Ty Chandler up to running back 42. So we talked about those last two, and I think Chase Brown we probably covered. Let's talk about Javonte Williams here, Jamie. Up 5 spots to running back 31. Obviously having a better camp than what we thought would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And listen, I was probably the most anti-Javonte on our show. Heath the most positive. It's hard to ignore, and look, is he going to dominate touches? We'll find out. There's a lot of positive buzz about Julian McLaughlin, a lot of positive buzz about Audrey Estime, Samaje Perine still on the roster. So, at what point does Javonte have a bad game, bad series, bad stretch, and he's getting replaced? And what is his role going to be across the board? Is he still the goal line guy, or is Estime come in and steal that? Is he still the passing downs guy? Forget about first and second down, just in obvious passing situations. Is that McLaughlin, who I love the story, by the way? He went and bought his own jugs machine and spent the offseason, working out, working on his hands. So I'm still a little cautious that there's going to be a split backfield on a very bad team. It doesn't feel like the Broncos are going to be that good. So I don't want to, completely, run him back up to where he was, which was just outside the top 24, prior to all that stuff coming out this offseason. So in that flex range, yes, I'm back to buying Javonte Williams if he's still there, but I'm not going to reach for him. And I'm sure any drafts that I do with Heath, I'm not going to get Javonte Williams.
What team do you think Bo Nix will be on next year? Will he be part of the trade that the Broncos used to acquire the number 1 pick next season? Because they could move up from 3 to 1.
I would guess he would have to play well enough to warrant, some team wanting to acquire him.
Yeah.
But poorly enough that the Broncos are looking for an upgrade.
All right, Malik Neighbors. Did you move Malik Neighbors up again?
I did. Well, so I had gone from 20 something to 19, then back to 21. I moved him back again to 19.
19. Wow. Look at this shirt. This shirt is awesome. Vintage shirt. Love it. Just
size extra small.
It was a gift. It was a birthday gift for me, and someone got me a large, and I was like, LOL. I had to return it and get a medium, but I got this new giant shirt. It just feels great.
No one cares about the shirt. I want to know who you move Neighbors over, Jamie.
So the shirt,
Pickens and Metcalf, who I like a lot.
Wow.
But, part of it is, is the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh just making me a little skittish of, is Justin Fields going to enhance George Pickens to the level that I really want to see? Not that I moved him down at all, just, one spot. And Metcalf with the Geno Smith news, I know he's going to be fine, but still, what happens if he's not there? So,
but he is going to be fine. So why
love all 3 of those guys? But it's just, again, we're nitpicking. I just, Dave brought it up when he's talking about DJ Moore. Wouldn't surprise me if Neighbors has more targets than those 2 guys by maybe 30.
And here's the other thing: we're talking about drafting somebody too close to their ceiling. Neighbors' ceiling, this isn't it. You could still move him up more, and he's still not being drafted to his ceiling. The problem is how many of those 160 targets or whatever that we dream about could be uncatchable. And it could be as high as like 25, 30%. That's a lot. And so I'm a little nervous about that. I can't move him over Pickens and Metcalf yet, but he is exciting. He is a top 24 wide receiver, and he is worth taking with a top 50 pick.
Look, if you think, how many targets did you say for Neighbors?
I think 160 is realistic.
160. That would blow my mind. But if you think he's going to get even like 140, then I feel like the worst case scenario would be something like Jalen Waddle's rookie season, where he was wide receiver 12 overall in PPR, about wide receiver 20 per game, or like a Deontay Johnson season, where you're going to get a lot of catches.
Hopefully not the Deontay Johnson season from 2 seasons ago.
Not the one with 0 touchdowns.
Please no.
But like one of those top 12 Deontay Johnsons, because that many targets, it's just you're gonna catch. Even if the targets are bad, you're gonna catch enough balls. Like how many? I just need to look this up. How many targets did Jamar Chase get as a rookie? Let me see. Jamar Chase had 128 targets in 17 games.
But he shared the field with a pretty good receiver, though. He
did, but they threw the ball probably more. Justin Jefferson had 125 targets in 16 games. Like, I don't know. Has a rookie receiver ever gotten 100? Look, we're playing a 17-game season now, so it's different.
140 is probably more realistic than 160.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm going to look it up right now. What's been the track record of receivers who've gotten 140 targets, period? You're going to like what you hear.
Oh, it's going to be. If he gets 140 targets, I'd take him in the early 3rd round.
When did they start playing 17-game seasons? 3 years ago?
21, 22, and 23.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm
All
on.
right, you go ahead and look that up. We can talk about Keenan Allen up 4 spots for you to wide receiver 38. Jamie.
It was more some guys around him dropping, but I felt like I was just a little too low on Allen. You know, a little too much hate for the guy who could be. He could be the best receiver for the Bears. Wouldn't be that out of the realm of possibility. I know he's 32, but he's coming off a year at 31, 11 and a half targets per game, different offense, different quarterback, all those things. But, you know, over 20 PPR points per game. So I felt that was a little bit too much in the negative.
Yeah. Would you rather take Keenan Allen in like round 7 or so, or Rome Odunze in round 9 or 10?
Allen. And that was the other way previously.
Okay.
I think I might take a Dunze.
Kyle Pitts, who'd you move him ahead of? You went from tight end 7 to tight end 6 with Pitts.
Yeah, I just kind of flipped those 3 guys around. Went with the more upside play of Pitts. And then I dropped Ingram. So I just kind of flipped the sandwich around on flip the bread around on the Kittle sandwich.
Okay, so it's Pitts, Kittle, Ingram now?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it was Ingram, Kittle, Pitts.
Yep.
I'm seeing Pitts in practice the next 2 days. I will come back with a full report.
I got to tell you, I never liked a turkey sandwich. I have had a really good turkey sandwich yesterday, a few weeks ago. You get like a good turkey sandwich with American cheese or just great combo there. All right, Jamie's followers. Dave didn't give followers. So I didn't ask him for any, so not your fault. I just figured, we don't need followers from everybody. You moved Dak Prescott from QB9 to QB11, as Dave is, by the way, deep in thought in this 140 target thing. Dak Prescott going from QB9 to QB11. What is up with that? This guy has been super consistent.
So it's the CeeDee Lamb concern if he gets hurt or misses time. And I don't have that same concern for Jordan Love, who I left at QB10. And so I just again, flipped the sandwich. Daniels moved up and Dak moved down with Jordan Love staying in the middle.
This is the best restaurant ever.
Delicious. Delicious episode of Fantasy.
Who wants to talk about targets?
Yeah, me.
All right. So 140 targets over 17 games. That's an average of 8.23529 targets per game. 37 players have had 140 or more targets over the last 3 seasons. 27 of the 37 averaged at least 15 PPR points per game. 8 of them got over 20 PPR points per game.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's pretty good. Now there's a tight end in there, like Mark Andrews did this. Kelsey obviously has done this. So it's not all wide receivers. So Evan Ingram last year had over 140 targets. So it's a pretty safe bet that he can get to over 15 PPR points per game. But that's if he gets 140 targets over the course of the season. Are you ready to buy into that? And if the answer is yes, then you're not drafting Neighbors high enough yet.
I'm not necessarily. You know what? Let's look up one thing. I'm sorry for going down this Neighbors rabbit hole. But let's take a look at their 2022 season. The Giants were like 16th in points scored, something like that. They actually were not bad. They went to the playoffs. They won a game. Okay, that year. What's that?
They paid Daniel Jones.
Yeah, right. Exactly. They threw 520 passes. So what's 140 divided by 520? That's a 27% target share. I could see it.
I think all bets are off as to what the Giants can do on offense. I don't think they're going to stick to the same things that they were doing before. Their whole offense has changed. And Neighbors is clearly their best weapon on offense.
You know what? Screw it. I'm in. I'm going to draft.
What a shocker that you're in. Are you interested in hearing some names of receivers who've had this target volume and did not come through?
Yeah.
Deontay Johnson in 2022, he went touchdownless, averaged 10.6. That's as bad as it gets. Garrett Wilson, his first 2 seasons in the league. Darnell Mooney in 2021 had 140 targets. He was the Bears' number 1 receiver then. DK Metcalf in 2022. Pittman in 2022. And Evan Ingram last year, a tight end, had 140 targets, 13.6 PPR points. But it's a tale of 2 seasons for Ingram. Once Kirk got hurt, his numbers went haywire. So that's pretty much it. I guess DJ Moore makes the cut too. He was technically under 14 PPR points per game in 2021.
Okay. So what's the earliest you guys would start taking Malik Neighbors?
102. No. Could I toy with taking him? I'm low on Waddle because I'm a little worried about his target volume. Could I take him over Waddle? I might be open to something like that.
Oh, give me like an area in the draft.
We're talking somewhere between wide receiver 18 and wide receiver 21. So
that's-
it's real close to where we have him ranked.
He's 39th for me overall.
All right.
Yeah, no, he's a little behind that for me.
3-4 turn, Malik Neighbors starts to come into the discussion. Fair?
Like I said, when we were talking about Alfredo's team, if he had gone Cup and Neighbors, I love that.
Okay. Justin Herbert down 5 spots for you from QB 17 to QB 22.
Again, the injury on top of the potential for just a poor statistical season wouldn't be surprising if the Chargers as a team are better just because the coaching's better. But if he's not going to run because he can't with the injured foot, like asking him to win you fantasy weeks with his arm at this point, not that he can't do it, clearly can, but in this offense, just doesn't feel like that's going to be the case. So again, Levis moved up, Herbert moved down, and Herbert went behind the injured trio. He's now part of the injured quartet of Rodgers, Cousins, and Watson.
Do you think there's anything that you need to say? Because a lot of these other guys are related to injuries, but Jonathan Brooks down, Blake Corum down 4 spots, Ladd McConkey down to wide receiver 40, DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver 45, and David Njoku gets jumped by Pat Freiermuth, I'm guessing, goes to tight end 13.
No, I had him, and this was back to our conversation last week. I had him behind Bowers, and I think I said that like I can't justify that because I like the upside of Bowers better. Okay,
yeah, I think the other ones, except for Corum, down 4 spots for Corum.
I mean, everything you hear is just it's going to be the Kyron show again. That Corum's going to need an injury for it to, him to have a significant role. He's going to have a role, but just a significant role. So I think the concern on draft day and maybe the upside for Corum, it's still there, but I don't think it's happening unless Kyron Williams misses time. And last year he did miss 4 games, so we'll see what happens.
Adam, the type of dude to drink hot chocolate instead of coffee. Yeah, 100%.
That's him.
I've never had coffee. I had it one time. It was horrible. I'll never have it again. I love hot chocolate any day. All right, some quick news items to end the show here. Jaden Daniels is going to play this week in preseason week 1, and Daniel LaRusso is going to fight. Rashid Shaheed has hamstring tightness. That's a Jamie joke. He does say that a lot. Carolina wide receiver Xavier Legette left Sunday's practice with a foot injury. He appears to... What's that?
Leggett.
Nuh-uh.
That's how he says it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, he went all 8chan on us?
Leggett.
Okay. Well, he appears to have avoided serious injury. The Dolphins restructured Tyreek Hill's contract, and he has a lot more money now. Arizona, big loss for the Cardinals. Linebacker B.J. Ojolari tore his ACL. He was a pretty important pass rusher.
Their pass rush was already terrible.
Yeah.
And now this.
Geno Smith says he's going to run more this season, which would be a big development. He ran much less last year than he did in his breakout 2022 season. Mike Sanford, who covers the Broncos, said, quote, Bo Nix is your starting quarterback when he gave his observations after 10 training camp practices.
Shocker.
Yeah, I don't know if that's set in stone, but let's call him the.
Well, he's not making the call. It's probably going to be Sean Payton who makes the call.
I was hoping for Zach Wilson. But,
Sanford, I think they're going to let the reporters decide, Dave. In an odd development.
That's cool. I know some of those guys.
Tyler Algier has been involved with the first team. Whatever, right?
I'll let you know.
Okay. Is David Montgomery going to have too big of a role for Jahmyr Gibbs? We can save it for tonight if you'd like. RB preview. Sure. Yeah. Pewter Report says running back Bucky Irving continues to look like the real deal as a runner and receiver. Bucky Irving is going to have a bigger role than most think this year as RB.
So Pete was there, Prisco was there, and he said, from what he heard, if he can pass protect, he's going to play a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I look forward to talking about Rachaad White. For whatever reason, I feel like we never talk about Rachaad White. So let's get back into that. Trey Sermon appears to be the backup to Jonathan Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Vegas rookie running back Dylan Laube is getting work on the third down, pardon me. And Green Bay, they had family night on Saturday, which must have been nice. And the snap counts for the wide receivers, Romeo Doubs with 21, Christian Watson with 19, Jaden Reed 16, and no other receiver played more than 6 snaps.
But I think they had 26 snaps, is that right?
I'm not sure.
How come we never have family night on our show?
I had family night yesterday with my actual family. It was
Yeah,
and then with you.
You didn't invite me That was heartbreaking.
Yeah, here's a question.
I could have gone to your house.
Yeah, Jamie, you're in town. Like, you're in his neck of the woods. You
No,
didn't get
we're
an
actually in
invite.
different states, so it's
Yeah,
not.
New Jersey, New York, it's the same thing. You're one train ride away. Adam, did you invite Jamie to come to your new mansion?
First of all, so many things wrong with that statement. I don't have a question. I don't a mansion, give me a break. And it wasn't at my house, so I couldn't invite.
Excuses.
Yeah, so Adam and I were texting with Thomas, and he said something. I'm at a family barbecue. I said, "Oh, what's the address? I'll be right there."
Yeah, you could have.
Since I can make it. He didn't give me the address.
I would have been. I would have been happy to. Okay. The last thing, CBS Sports wrote an article: 9 rookie standouts. Their top 9 rookie standouts in training camp so far. Guess who number 1 was?
Caleb Williams.
No, we haven't. We've only talked about him for about 15 minutes on this episode.
Chase Brown isn't a rookie.
Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison, number 2. How about Jalen Polk? Number 3. Is he moving?
He's going to play a lot and catch a lot. It's just not the best offense. But
And
we
he's
say that
doing
about
a lot.
Neighbors.
He's doing a lot right now with Douglas hurt, so I wonder how much that factors into.
Yeah.
So we'll
I
see.
like drafting Polk, but I'm not ready to move him up like I am some of these other guys.
When you start to get into the wide receiver 50 range, Polk should come into play for sure.
Austin Booker, Bears defensive end. He's number 4 on the list.
Yep. That was an interesting pick by them because he was hurt, I think. They weren't sure if he was going to make an impact so soon, but looks like he is.
Austin Booker for the Bears. Miami edge rusher Chop Robinson, number 5.
He was the best pass rusher in the one day that I've already been to Dolphins camp. They've got a couple of guys on the shelf, though, so they really need him.
Yeah.
They need him.
I did read that he's not so good against the run as of now. Chop Robinson.
They just need somebody to get after the quarterback.
Philadelphia running back Will Shipley. I mean, is he the handcuff to Saquon Barkley?
He might be. I'd be surprised if Gainwell got completely pushed aside, but he's going to have a role potentially.
And what would you do, Dave, if someone spelled my last name Azer?
Nothing. I would do nothing.
You add an I, because Adonai Mitchell.
Jesus.
I think I made that joke a few months ago.
Did you?
Mitchell for the Colts. He is having a good camp as well. And a couple of offensive linemen. Talise Fuaga, first-round pick for the Saints, offensive tackle. They've had a bad offensive line recently. They need help there. So Talise Fuaga, hopefully he can help them for the Saints. And Jordan Morgan, offensive guard for the Packers, who I think played tackle in college. He showed up as number 9 on the 9 rookie standouts from CBS Sports. That's it for today's show. We have CBS Sports Network at 1 o'clock if you want to check that out. And otherwise, we'll talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today.